Apropos to the video and the season, I have a pumpkin spice latte. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my most anticipated reads for this fall. So in lieu of making a September TBR, just because I suck at sticking to TBRs, I'm just going to be sharing with you some of my most anticipated reads for this fall season. So these are some reads that I have been saving specifically for fall, or just some new reads that I've acquired so far before the fall season starts. And some are books that I've had on my TBR for couple years in a few cases, which is kind of sad, but either way, these are some of the books that I'm excited to start very soon. I'm participating hopefully in 2 readathons in September, but I'll be giving those TBRs out when I actually start the vlogs for those, because they're each week long, so I'm going to be doing reading vlogs for them. The first is Lala's Last Buzzword-a-thon, and the second is Jean and Jill's Femme Fatale, which I have participated in every round of so far, so very excited. But yeah, these are just some of the books I'm really excited to get to, so let's just get into it. This first one is a book that I've heard so many good things about, and I am very excited to read it. It seems very fall-esque, and I've heard some good things about from people that I really trust, and I'm very excited to dive into it, and this is Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. So this is the first in a adult fantasy thriller. Oh my god, I said it again. Adult fantasy trilogy. And this tells the story of Mia Corvair. And she's a assassin, I think, and I don't really know what it's about, to be perfectly honest. There's something to do with the church and lots of knives. I love assassin stories, I can't even lie. They're one of my favorite genres and favorite tropes in fantasy, and so I think this one is supposed to be super dark and super creepy and definitely very fall Halloween-y-esque. So I'm excited. I have the entire trilogy that I bought this spring during my quarantine book buying obsession. It was a problem, but I'm excited about this. Particularly, I've heard my friend Zoe talk about it quite a lot, so I trust her opinion, and we have very similar taste in books, so I'm very excited to get into this. Next up is The Beautiful by Renee Adieh. This is the story of, what's her name? Who is 17, and this takes place in 1872 in New Orleans, and it has vampires. That's, again, mostly all I know. I've heard this is fantastic. I've heard it's like a murder mystery set in 1870s New Orleans, which is such a great setting, and it tells a story of a young girl and vampires, which is pretty much all I need to know. I was obsessed with Twilight. I was one of those people. And I love me a good vampire story, so again, I'm very excited, but I've heard this is super creepy as well. I love me some vampires. Vampires are perfect for Halloween and autumn and fall vibes, and I'm just excited. Next up is Woven in Moonlight by Isabel Ibañez. This, my friend Kayla has been telling me to read forever since I got it, and I swear to God, Kayla, I'm going to be reading it this year. Or this year. Hopefully this month, but also this year. This tells the story of Ximena, who is the decoy contessa to her kingdom, which is inspired by ancient Bolivia and Bolivian history and politics. Ximena's people lost everything when the usurper to their land, Atac, used a ancient magical icon to gain power and take control. Ximena is thirsting for revenge, and when Atac demands their previous contessa's hand in marriage, Ximena goes in her place in order to try and usurp the usurper. I've heard amazing things about this from many friends. I also heard great things from Kayla. I heard great things from Coley at Bonjour Coley, who I'll also leave link down below, both of them. And I know I'm going to like it. I just haven't read it because I haven't been reading. But again, it's a fantasy. It is inspired by South America, which I think is really interesting and something I've not read of before, and I'm just very excited to get to it. Next up is Lair of Dreams by Libba Bray. This is the sequel to The Diviners, a book that I read 2 Octobers ago, I think, so it's been a while since I've buried into this world again. I buddy read The Diviners with Joe over at Average Joe Reads, and we tried to buddy read Lair of Dreams last year, but I was too caught up in school, so I didn't end up finishing it, but he's since then finished the series, and I'm really sad that I didn't read the rest of it with him, but I plan on finishing this series this October, because I want to finish The Diviners for the Halloween season. I loved The Diviners so much. It takes place in 1920s New York, and it follows a whole group of peoples, but particularly a young woman named Edie O'Neill, who has these special psychic powers. All kids in this world tend to have these psychic powers, of some kind or another, and they are brought together to defeat this, basically it's a ghost. It's terrifying. But it follows such a crazy cast of characters, and I love all of them so much. They are all incredible people, and I think their characters are really interesting. Specifically Sam. I love me some good Sam. The setting of 1920s New York with all these like supernatural elements and like the ghost story is such a compelling setting, and it makes me so excited to dive back into this. It's very atmospheric, and it's very perfect for fall and Halloween and just spookiness, and I love it. And I need to finish this series. There's Lair of Dreams, and then the third book is Before the Devil Breaks You, and then the last book is The King of Crows, and I'm so pumped to finish this series. It needs to happen very soon. Next up is a graphic novel, and that is The Adventure Zone by Clint McElroy, Griffin McElroy, Justin McElroy, Travis McElroy, and Carrie Peisch. This is a graphic novelization of these, this father and three sons D&D game. It's a novelization of their characters and their actual game, which is also a podcast called The Adventure Zone. This is the first edition. Here there be Gerblins, and my friend Kirsten is a huge D&D fan and told me if I wanted to get started in D&D or learn more about it, this was definitely the way to go. I love me a good graphic novel every once in a while, and I am just so excited about this. I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to get the other ones that are out, and then I'm going to start listening to the podcast, I think, because I think it's going to be fun. But with all the different, like, fun characters and, like, fantasy elements, I think it's perfect for fall, and it'll be a great quick read. Next up is probably going to be my next read, honestly, and this is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. This tells the story of Noemi, and it is set in 1950s Mexico. It tells the story of Noemi after she receives a disturbing letter from her cousin who has recently gotten married. Her cousin has married a very wealthy Englishman and moved into this huge Gothic manor, basically. And Noemi instantly rushes to her cousin's side to try and figure out what's going on and is completely barred from seeing her. She gets to this place and she decides she's going to stay until she can figure out what's going on with her cousin and make sure that she's okay. Seems that the only ally in this house is her new brother or cousin-in-law's youngest son, who also seems to be holding some type of secret from her. I've heard the story is creepy AF, and I'm so ready for it. It is a thriller. It reminds me of cozy Agatha Christie novels, and it reminds me of all the other Gothic novels I have read in my lifetime, which are many, because Gothic is one of my favorite genres. With the huge creepy house, and the mysterious corridors, and the sickness and just madness that comes with it. I'm so excited to read this, it's not even funny, so I'm probably going to be picking it up by the end of the day, to be perfectly honest. I've also heard amazing things about this from Kay as well, and a few other people on my radar, and I'm very excited about it. Next up is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This came out last year, and I started reading it, but I never finished it. This was another book that got lost in my master's degree and was started but never made it past like 20 pages because I was feeling guilty about not doing schoolwork. But anyway, this takes place at, where is it? Plane ticket to Edmonton for my cousin's wedding. Hey Colleen. Anyway, this tells the story of Alex Stern, who is a freshman at Yale. And this tells the story of like secret societies at Yale. It's got ghosts in it. It's got like huge dark academia vibes going for it. Again, I've heard it's creepy. I've heard it's really dark. It's definitely part of the grimdark genre. So like, I'm expecting gore. I'm expecting like horror type things from it. And again, I'm very excited. I've also heard amazing things about this from a lot of people that I have very similar tastes in books with. And the first 2 pages that I read, I really enjoyed. I just didn't have the time nor the energy to really dedicate myself to this book last year. So it'll be happening this year. Next up is a new book that I've acquired recently that I'm so excited for. And it is The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. It is blurbed as a young woman living in a rigid puritanical society discovers dark powers within herself in the stunning feminist fantasy debut. This tells the story of Emmanuelle, who is an outcast in her society because of her race. Her mother was disgraced after having a child with a person of a different race, and because of that, Emmanuelle herself has also become a pariah. She is living under the rule of the church, and she ends up falling into this world of old witch hunts and witches in her nearby forest and learns secrets about her mother and these witches that she never thought she would hear. I'm super excited about this. I'm hoping to do my PhD on witches and witchcraft and literature, so I'm really excited to be reading this. It seems to be based on the European witch trials, which I think is really interesting, and like I'm obsessed with the witch trials in general, so I'm very excited to see how this is going to be portrayed in a fantasy novel, and I just absolutely cannot wait to read it. Next up is a honker. It is Priory, the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I've had this book on my TBR for years now, and I still cannot believe I haven't read it. It's huge, but that usually doesn't scare me. This book is less than... It's huge, but it's not as many pages as some of the books that I've read and loved. The size is not what intimidates me. I don't even know. I don't know what it is. I do not know why I haven't read this book yet. Anyway, this is a epic fantasy story, and it's got dragons, it's got sapphic love, it's got different kingdoms and queendoms, and just so much girl power and dragons. Did I mention dragons? And I don't even know. I genuinely don't know a whole lot about the book still. It's been out for a couple years now, but I still don't know what it's about, which makes me happy to go into it kind of blind. I don't know, it's got a lot of different elements of fantasy that I absolutely love, so I'm very excited to finally dive into it. Finally, I would like to read City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This is a adult fantasy series set in 18th century Cairo, and it follows Nari, who's a con woman, and during one of her scams, she actually ends up releasing Asian warrior named Dara, and the two of them get brought into this huge epic journey in order to find Daevabad, I think is how you say it, which is the ancient and legendary city of brass. She gets pulled into this world that she's never known anything about and is completely bound to, but her presence also starts to threaten a war that has been simmering for centuries. I'm so excited about this. I've heard raving reviews about this, again from Kayla and from many other people on BookTube. It seems to be a absolute classic. And I think the final book just came out. I think it's Kingdom of Copper. I don't know, I'm not sure, but I know that this book sounds amazing. It's set in Egypt, which is automatically a win for me. It's got magic, it's got djinns, it's got secret cities, it's got 18th century vibes, and I'm so excited about it. So this is 100% on my list of books to read this fall. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these books or other books that you're looking forward to reading this fall. Or if you don't have any recommendations or things to say, leave me some fall colored hearts in the comments down below. If you like this video, please give it a like, and if you're new here, please subscribe. I put out new bookish and writing videos every week, and I hope you guys have a lovely day.